So I was telling you, when we define a heat load or thermal load, it is the amount of heat that must be added or removed from the space to maintain the proper temperature in the space, to maintain the thermal comfort into the space. And thermal comfort is that condition of mind which expresses satisfaction with thermal environment. So we expressed generally thermal load in terms of tonnage or TR. And now this thermal load or heat load, again, we can bifurcate in two parts. One is sensible heat and another is latent heat. So sensible heat is the amount of heat or amount of energy, added to the space with respect to temperature. So basically conduction, convection, radiation kind of heat transfers, which leads to the increase in temperature of inside a thermal space. Whereas the latent heat gain is related to the moisture content into the air. So if my moisture is increasing into a certain space, it means is the latent enthalpy of air inside the room is increasing. So there are 7 factors which affect the thermal comfort. So it is, one is the activity level, what kind of activity we are doing with, in terms of physically, what we are doing. Are we sitting? Are we standing? Are we running? Clothing, what kind of clothes we have wear. Then what the expectations. So that is the individual characteristics, like, some people are much comfort in kind of colder climates, while other people feel kind of very cold in the same temperatures. Then the environmental conditions that comes into the that affects our thermal comfort are air temperature, radiant temperature, humidity, and air speed. So here the combined effect of air temperature and radiant temperature we call operative temperature. So operative temperature, humidity, and airspeed, these three are the environmental conditions, or I can also say air temperature and radiant temperature, humidity, and airspeed. 4 environmental conditions. Another is the expectation that vary from person to person, and then activity level and clothing. So globally, these are the 7 factors that affect the thermal comfort for an individual. There are 4 forms of heat transfer. So whenever the heat loads build up into a space.
Screen full.
Yes, thank you, ma'am, for pointing it out. So there are 4 forms of heat transfer. Basically conduction, in general terms we call them conduction, convection, radiation, and latent heat. So conduction, probably you people have read these things into your heat HMT or thermodynamics. So conduction is the process of heat transfer within a same material or within a same boundary layer, whereas convection is the heat transfer between two mediums. So the very simple examples, if we take an iron rod in our hand and we put one end into fire, so the another end also gets hot up because of the conduction. And if we the kind of like how the car engine gets cooled, it when it because it comes into the touch of the colder air, so that is convection. Radiation is the another mode of heat transfer which don't actually need any conveying medium. So like how we get this heating from sun, that comes through radiation. And then another medium is the latent heat, which is the phase changing of certain changing the from water to water vapor. So it absorbs heats, or in vice versa it releases heat. So that's the 4 forms of heat transfer. We can I can read the definitions for them. So conduction of heat is the process of heat transfer in solids. In buildings, heat is transferred by conduction, mainly in the walls or roof, either inwards or outwards. So if my out like there is a wall, so one side of the wall the temperature is say 45, another side of the wall so there is a temperature of lesser temperature. So within that wall the heat transfer, that process will be conduction, and the heat transfer can be calculated as area into U value into temperature difference. Convection is the process of heat transfer in which molecules of cool air absorb heat from a warm surface air. they rise or carry it away. So convection heat flow in a building occurs mainly in interior spaces within a room. Convection and infiltration are both forms of mass flow, but convection heat flow takes place mainly in the interior, while infiltration takes place between the building and outside air. So these infiltration and these U value which I used in their definition, in my future next slides I will explain them in detail. Now radiation is the process of heat flow in electromagnetic waves from a hotter surface to a empty space. So the radiation balance favors the cold surface. What does it mean? It means if there are two surfaces, so the hotter surface will emit the radiations and the colder surface will absorb the radiations. This is the only method of heat transfer which does not require a medium. So now for estimating certain load, so we have our out ambient conditions, and then there is our room or our building area or our floor on which we want to maintain a certain temperature. So first of all, if we want to evaluate a heat load, we should first decide the two things. We should first fix the two factors. The factor number one, what is the ambient condition? What is the outdoor temperature that I will assume or I will consider for estimating the heat load? What is heat load? Heat load, it is the heat transmission from outward to inwards, or the heat generation from the equipments, from the sources which are there inside. So I must finalize my output conditions. So whenever we evaluate heat load, we consider the worst peak conditions, so that we can maintain the thermal comfort with our AC in peak ambient conditions, in worst ambient conditions. So that's why we take the peak dry bulb for summers, the peak wet bulb for monsoons, or peak minimum temperature for in case of like winters. So my heat load calculation is affected by my location. So if I change my location, my ambient conditions will get changed, and so my heat load will get changed. We have the weather files from ISRI or ESRI that have the annual data um, throughout the year, and those data can also be used in some softwares if you want to evaluate the peak heat load. Or if like in the today, like I'm going to show you how we evaluate heat load through manual calculations or through CLTD method or E20 form. So there we will take fixed values for dry bulb temperature and a mean coincident wet bulb temperature in case of cooling. In case of monsoon load, I will take the maximum wet bulb temperature and mean coincident dry bulb temperature. For case of heating load, I will take coldest dry bulb temperature as ambient conditions while I will evaluate the heat load. So these will be my ambient temperatures. Overall, Indian climate zone is majorly divided into 5 climate zones as per our energy building code. So you can see in this map, mostly all the coastal area comes under warm and humid climate. Some area from Maharashtra, Gujarat, and Rajasthan, which is red zone, is hot and dry. So and the composite climate, where is in case of summers there is high summers, and in case of winters the ambient conditions again kind of quite strong winters. So that comes under composite climate. And there are two temperature zones further, which are in the blue one is the cold, which is mostly Jammu Kashmir and some part of Himachal and Uttarakhand, including Arunachal Pradesh. And then the composite temperate climate. So temperate climate is the area in our climate which is found in very few cities. So mostly the climate like Bangalore comes under the temperate climate zone. So indoor design conditions. So like I told you, we for evaluating heat load, we need to fix our indoor design conditions. What is the temperature that I want to maintain inside my room, and based upon that, ambient condition and the inside condition, the delta T will get evaluated, and based upon that delta T, all of my heat load, heat transmission through all of those things will be calculated. So thermal comfort, again, I can define it. It is that condition of mind which expresses satisfaction with thermal environment. So this condition is also sometimes called as neutral condition. Studies show that the neutral condition, the temperature should be the skin temperature is, it should be 33.7, and our core temperature is 36.8 degrees Celsius. So when the environment is colder within the neutral zone, the body loses more heat than it generated. When the environment is hotter than the neutral zone, the body loses less heat than it generated. So indoor design conditions during heat load calculation we can take from NBC or from ECBC. Mostly our indoor design conditions in case of summers are our normal dry bulb temperatures from 23 to 26 degrees Celsius, and RH is less than 60%. In case of winters, my indoor design conditions are 20, dry bulb is 21 to 23 degrees Celsius, and RH is greater than 30%. Again, in indoor design condition, I can also include my indoor air quality. So indoor air quality means the particulate counts, the VOC, the bioeffluents. So I can within my AC I can put some advanced filters to improve my indoor air quality as well. So here you see the cooling load
So I have
component.
a
So what?
question.
Yeah, tell me.
So what is VOC?
So VOCs are, when we use these finishes like these paints or the wooden finishes. So these finishes are developed using certain chemicals or kind of deodorant that we use. So these are all these things have these chemicals, and which is being also with the time, the air which is there, so it with time it evaporates into the air. So that's called the volatile organic compounds, VOCs. So the amount of VOCs into our air should be within certain limits. It should not cross beyond the limit. That's why we also include VOCs into our indoor air quality. The VOC stands for basically volatile organic compounds. So okay, and now yeah, on my current screen you can see the cooling load components. So cooling load components, you can also think how my thermal space, my is is hotter than than the ambient conditions, or how I can maintain it at a lower temperature. So what will be the components that will add heat into my room? So like in case of summers, so heat ambient conditions are like 40 degrees Celsius, 45 degrees Celsius. While inside my temperature is, I need to maintain inside temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. So heat will come into my space from my roof, from my floor, from my walls. So these are the cooling load components. Then if there is a window, heat will come through the window as well. And even in case of window, there are two types of heat gains. So because of temperature difference, heat will come from outside to inside my room using conduction, and then through radiation, because glasses are not opaque, they are transparent or translucent, so the radiation also come through windows. Then if there is infiltration, if because the ambient air is hotter, so if I'm opening my door through my window, if the hot air is coming inside my colder room, it will again create a heat load. So that is infiltration. Now these components are the basically exterior building components. Then I have some interior components which is there inside my room, but they also create heat. So we ourselves, occupants, human body, develop heats in the room. Then our computer systems, laptops, printers, they generate heat. Then lighting, it generates heat. So all of these components we need to evaluate the heat which is coming through my wall, my roof, my glass, my infiltration air, my equipment, my occupancy. I need to add up to reach at my heat load for that particular room. Like cooling load components, as I told you, I can break up them into as external and internal. Externals are heat gain through wall, roof, solar heat gain through window, conductive heat gain through window, heat gain through partition wall or interior wall. So interior wall means I have two rooms side by side. If one room is AC, okay, air conditioned room, and other room is non-air conditioned room. So in air conditioned room, I will maintain a temperature of 25. But in air conditioned unconditioned room, the temperature may be 35, maybe 40. So whenever there is whenever there is a temperature difference across the wall, across the roof, across the floor, so then the heat will get transmitted through a particular surface. So that is the heat gain through partitions. Partitions means the walls, the roof, the floor, which is one side is conditioned and another side is unconditioned. We call them as partitions. Then internal components, people, light and equipment, appliances, infiltration, and then system heating. So when I'm putting some AC, so that AC, may also have some heat losses, to supply the chilled air into our conditioned space. So that we call as system heat gain. So okay, before going into the, how we calculate the heat load from walls or from roofs, we first need to understand U value. So what is U value? U value is termed as overall heat transfer coefficient. It represents the, it is the rate of heat flow through a unit area of building envelope, material or assembly, including its boundary films, per unit temperature difference between the inside and outside air. So basically, you can call it, the overall effect of conductance convection. So the lower U factor, the greater is the material's resistance for this heat transmission. Resistance is more if the U value is lower, and so the lower U value is, if the U value is low, there will be lesser heat transfer. If the U value will be high, the heat transfer will be more. So we will use IP units for this presentation. IP units, like in IP units, our U value is BTU per hour per square foot per degree Fahrenheit. We can calculate the U value with a formula of dividing by our thermal conductivity with the material thickness. Thermal conductivity is a basic parameter of a material. The unit of thermal conductivity is BTU inch per hour per square foot per degree Fahrenheit. So this is, and the reverse of U value we call R value. So U value is the overall conductance and R value is the overall thermal resistance. So like if there is construction, now if my wall may be composed of a 9-inch red brick wall, then there I may have plasters on both the sides, or I may have stone finish on one side, plaster on another side. Overall R value of a construction is simply the summation of resistance of all of the different layers into that construction. Okay, and U value of overall construction is equal to the 1 upon summation of R. So 1 upon total resistance is my U value. Also, if I have my U value in SI units, so I will divide it by 5.678 to convert it into IP units. Okay, and if you have in if you have in, is like 1 BTU per hour per square foot per degree Fahrenheit is equal to 5.678 watt per meter square per Kelvin. You can remember this term because we use IP units, while further going to evaluate the heat load from different components. This is how we calculate the U factor of a wall or U factor of a roof. So we should know the R value of all of the components. If my wall is composed of brick, I should know the R value of brick, R value of my wall finish. So all of those things I need the R value to calculate the overall R value or overall U value of my construction. I have also put a sample calculation for you how actually we calculate U value of a wall. So you can see on the screen. So this is the resistivity in second column. There is description, this is material. In third column, it is the resistance. So and then if you multiply this with thickness, you will get the overall thermal resistance. In third column, it is resistivity. And then if you add all the R values individually, you will get a total R value. And if you divide one, if you take the ratio of 1 divided by total R value, you will get a overall U value. So U value we use to evaluate the heat load through walls, through roofs, through my glass, if the conduction heat. These are some U values you can see on your screen. So for 8-inch brick wall with half-inch cement plaster on both sides, U value is 0.38. For 4-inch brick wall with half-inch mesh plaster both sides, 0.44. Similarly, for 6-inch RCC roof and half-inch plaster both sides, it's 0.56. So these are the typical U values for different kind of building constructions. Cooling load principles. So I'm again defining here some terms before jumping into the heat load regulation. Total load will be like a summation of my sensible load and latent load. So I will calculate my sensible load separately and my latent load separately. All heat gain through wall, window, roof, equipment, lighting. Through equipment, through lighting, it is all sensible load. In case of the equipment, if the equipment is like printers, my computer systems, it is sensible load. If my equipment is a kind of cooking equipment, then some load may be the latent load as well. Here I'm writing this for offices. Then occupants of like the human body, human beings, and fresh air. Are this coming, we are putting some mechanical fresh air, or it is coming by filtration through leakages. It will generate both type of load, sensible load and latent load. Then we calculate a term when we calculate heat load, we calculate a term called as room sensible heat ratio or sensible heat factor, or and it is I told you in last webinar, this term is equal to the total space sensible load divided by total space load. I means the summation of sensible and latent both. Note the fresh air which is coming through infiltration plays a part in room latent load. While the total fresh air which is coming directly on coil, yeah, you can note this point. So, the air is coming into my room through leakages. If it is coming through leakages, then I will calculate the sensible load and latent load separately for my room. And then I will calculate sensible heat ratio. If it is coming directly on coil, when it will come directly on coil, when by design for maintaining our CO2 levels inside our thermal spaces, we are putting this fresh air on our cooling coil directly. So it is not coming into the room, it is directly coming on at the AC suction. In that case, we directly evaluate the heat transmission through this fresh air, and we don't calculate the sensible load and latent load separately from this fresh air. So I will also show you again in future slides. So when my all heat load is sensible load, my SHR is 1. When SHR 0.9, it means 90% of the load is sensible load and 10% of the load is latent load. There are 3 methods basically to evaluate the heat load. CLTD, cooling load temperature difference, that we use mostly. Then solar cooling load factor, SCL, and then CLF, cooling load factor. So the heat gain actually in the building is not converted into cooling load instantaneously. So that's why these 3 methods like CLTD consider this heat instantaneously. So the time lag in conductive heat gain through Parquet exterior surfaces. The CLF, the point 1 and 2 is being considered during the CLF method. So it considers the CLF method, which is cooling load factor, which is used by cooling load softwares mostly. It considers the effect of time lag and time delay because of thermal storage. Okay. Here I can again define them in quite detail. So CLTD is a theoretical temperature difference that accounts for combined effect of inside and outside air temperature difference, daily temperature in solar radiation or heat storage into the construction assembly building mass. So it is the combined, it is the theoretical temperature difference that combined take into the effect of all these things, including building mass, thermal mass. It is affected by orientation, tilt, north, month, day, hour, latitude. These CLTD factors are used for adjustment to conductive heat gains from wall, roof, floor, and glass. Then CLF accounts for the fact that all the radiant energy that enters into the conditioned space at a particular time does not become a part of the cooling load instantly. So like I told you in previous slide, CLF is the method which actually considers the effect of thermal mass, considers the effect of time, those things. The CLF values for various surfaces have been calculated as functions of solar time and orientation that are available in terms of tables in ST handbooks. CLF methods are used for adjustment to heat gains from internal loads such as lighting, occupancy, power, and appliances. Then SEL factors are used for adjustment to transmission heat gain from glass. So here, with these definitions, you can you can observe this thing. So CLF is comparatively a more accurate method for evaluating the heat load compared to in comparison to CLTD. So CLF is the method which is being used by mostly advanced simulation softwares or heat load calculation softwares, and the in the manual heat load calculation sheets, the E20 form, we use CLTD method. Okay, so now in future slides, I will tell you how we will calculate the heat load through CLTD method. So okay, now we will we can see on this slide how much heat will come into my room through walls, through floors, through roofs. So this formula, which is Q is equal to UACLTD, it's basically derived from Q is equal to MC delta T only. So here the Q is the heat in BTU per hour. I told you we are using IP units. U is the BTU per hour per square foot per degree Fahrenheit. Area is the total area of that particular assembly or that particular for which we are using this U value. So we can't calculate this heat load from walls and roof from one equation. We have to develop, like such different equation. We have to use this formula every time for wall, for floor, even with orientation. This like for north orientation, this formula, this we can't combine the for north orientation and south orientation, because even the CLTD changes with the orientation. So CLTD is used from S3 tables. So S3 tables gives us the the CL, like gives us the factors that are used with actual delta T. So actual delta T is your design ambient condition, which is peak ambient condition, and design indoor condition. So the delta T for ambient condition and your room design condition is the your actual delta T. Then you have to add 10 degree, 20 degree, 30 degree, depending upon S3 guidelines. So like in case of roof, we add 25 degree directly into the delta T in Fahrenheit. So CLTD values we get from S3 tables, and then from this equation, we calculate the heat ingress through walls, floors, and roofs. Then heat ingress through glass. So through glass, like I told you, heat will come in two ways. One way is the conduction heat gain, like it is coming from wall. Similarly, it will also come from roof. That depends upon the U value of glass, the area, and then CLTD. The another heat gain is the radiational heat gain. So radiation heat gain can be calculated by multiplying the area into shading coefficient and into solar cooling load factor. Okay. So shading coefficient again is there dimensionless. It depends upon my glass HSDC or my window shading. It depends on both the things. Then solar cooling load factor varies from orientation to orientation, and I can directly take the values for SCL as per my location from SRA guidelines. If there is no shading and we have the glass HSGC value, we can divide the HSGC by 0.87 to get the shading coefficient value. Now heat buildup due to lighting. So if we have the lighting's load in watt, we can directly convert that into the heat generated from the lighting. So that is basically equal to the lighting input into ballast factor into CLF into 3.41. So ballast factor depends upon the type of fixture. 3.41 is basically a unit conversion of watt into BTU per hour. Then CLF is the factor which is actually, if your building is 24-hour operational, their CLF will be 1. So these values are given in ASHRAE guideline. So this equation, you will calculate the heat buildup from lightings. Then with this equation, you can calculate the heat buildup due to the interior equipment that is there inside my thermal space. So I should know the upper input of those electrical equipment, and then I can use the CLF values and then the 3.41 a constant unit conversion factor, and I can evaluate the heat buildup due to equipment in BTU per hour. Then heat buildup due to occupancy. So like I told you, people generate heat because their bodies, either body core temperature or body skin temperature, it's higher than our normal design conditions, which are 23, 24, 25. That's why human body generate heat. The amount of heat released by body varies with age, gender, type of clothing, and level of physical activity. So that sensible heat is equal to the number of people into sensible heat gain per person into CLF. This CLF is same, which is we have used in our equipment or lighting equation. So it is same. And latent heat from people depends directly calculated from number of people into latent heat gain per person. Now these factors, like I told you, depend on the sensible heat gain or latent heat gain per person depends upon age, gender, type of equipment. So I have some values like you can see right now on your screen. So the 400, these are the like total values, and then you can see the breakup of sensible and latent as well. So if these are the values considering a indoor drivable temperature of 78. So I have just use some activities here. So then, like depending upon the activity, the sensible heat gain per person and latent heat gain per person can be calculated. Now heat ingress due to infiltration. So infiltration means the air which is coming through leakages unintentionally into our room, because that air is hotter. That's why we need to evaluate the heat ingress in our room because of this air. So in typical building, air leaks into or out of space through doors, windows, or small cracks into the building envelope. Air leaking into a space is called infiltration. During the cooling season, when air leaks into a conditioned space from outdoors, and can contribute to both sensible and latent heat gain into the space, because the outdoor air is typically warmer and also more humid. So for this air, we will calculate the sensible heat load separately and latent heat load separately. So for evaluating the sensible heat load, I have this factor 1.08 into my CFM airflow in CFM into the temperature difference. So TO is the temperature of outdoor air, TAC is the temperature of my inside my room. And then latent heat load I will use and with the equation of 0.68 into airflow in CFM into the humidity difference, and that is the difference of grains. So grains of moisture out in outside air minus grains of moisture in inside air. So if you have this difference in grain, you will use a factor of 0.68. If you have a this grains in, if you have this humidity in pound, you will use a factor of 4840. So this heat load you can use from single equation. So I have put this total equation just for your information. In case of the whenever the heat is coming through infiltration, we have to calculate the sensible heat load separately, and we will not use the H total equation. So just for your information, I have also put this total equation. So if we use the enthalpy difference, then the total heat can be calculated in by one equation only, and we don't need to use sensible and latent equation if we want to use the total equation. Okay, because that this as total is equal to as sensible plus as latent. So this is the TO is the temperature outside, TC is the diabab temperature inside my room or air leaving the cooling coil. Then humidity difference in grains, humidity difference in pound. And then HO is the outside air enthalpy, or HC is the enthalpy of air level leaving the cooling coil. So if I'm giving now the earlier equations I used for the fresh air, which was coming through infiltration. If I'm putting some fresh air intentionally, I put it on coil. I don't add the hot air in my room. If I need to add some fresh air, I will directly push this fresh air at the suction of cooling coil. So it comes in room only after getting cooler, after getting cold. Okay. Even in that case, some hot air bypasses our cooling coil, like I told you in last webinar. That's why when I'm putting some fresh air intentionally at my coil, then I will, for 90% of the air, I will use the equation, my third equation, like 4.5 into my CFM into my enthalpy difference, because this 90% of the air will come into the contact of coil. So I will directly calculate the coil load. For the 10% air, which will actually bypasses my cooling coil, why I'm evaluating my room heat load. So for that 10% air, I will calculate the heat load for that 10% air separately as Q sensible and Q latent because I need to calculate my sensible heat factor. So the for the air which is coming directly on coil, so the load because of that coil is not considered in sensible heat ratio. That's why we calculate the cooling load, coil load separately. So here, when you have calculated all of this heat transmission through the exterior components and through the interior components, and then the coil load, then you can calculate sensible heat ratio. So sensible heat ratio is equal to the sensible heat gain, room sensible heat gain divided by sensible heat gain plus latent heat gain. And then you can also you need to calculate the ADP. Once you have calculated the heat load in terms of what is the total amount of heat that I need to remove from my space to maintain a certain temperature into my room, then after calculating the total heat, I again need to calculate two factors. What are those two factors? One factor is called ADP, apparatus dew point. Apparatus dew point, the temperature that I need to maintain at the surface of my cooling coil to maintain my indoor to get my indoor design condition, and the amount of airflow that I need to supply from my air condition, the amount of airflow that the circulation rate I need to calculate. Okay, so this also the temperature which is at the discharge at the exit of my air coil leaving air. So that can be calculated as equal to ADP plus temperature of my mixed air. So mixed air is the air which is ultimately air which is going at the suction of my cooling coil, because my AC works on recirculation air. It sucks the air from my room only, but I also add some fresh air at my cooling coil suction to maintain my CO2 levels. So MA mixed air is the total air which is going ultimately at the suction of cooling coil. And then if I need to calculate the temperature condition at my outlet of the cooling coil, that can be calculated as ADP plus TMA minus ADP into bypass factor. Now the point comes how I can calculate the ADP. So ADP can be calculated. So you have one reference point on your psychometry chart. If you if you remember, I also showed you in our last webinar. So and then there is where the humidity ratio scale is there, one more scale is also there. It stands for sensible heat ratio. So you can calculate the sensible heat ratio of your room. Then you will draw a line meeting the reference point, which is a fixed point on the psychrometric chart, with the sensible heat ratio of your room. So if for your room sensible heat ratio is 0.95, so we will draw a line through reference point and with the 0.95. So the line will be comes like this. Then we have to put a that line where cuts or intersects our saturation line, that is called our ADP. So we don't use psychometric chart every time to calculate the ADP. We have our charts, which I will show you, and that charts can also directly give you the value of ADP if you know the value of your sensible heat factor and your room design conditions. So now I would like to show you those two things before moving ahead. Can all of you still able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So can you see an Excel file now on your screen?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
Okay. I think now you people can see a Excel file, right?
Yes, sir.
So here, this is a journal heat load calculation sheet that we use for evaluating the heat load calculations. And this sheet have all the things which I showed you in my slides. So there are the ambient conditions, the outside conditions that we use, and then we have the inside conditions that we use for evaluating the heat load. So these are my inside conditions where currently my cursor is present. These are my outside conditions. First of all, I need to put my outside conditions and inside conditions when I'm going to evaluate the heat load. Then I need to put my floor area. I can put my floor area as 250 square foot. Okay. Then I need to put my room height. I can put my room height. So how? Then here you can see here I'm putting what is the amount of fresh air that I'm going to give at my coil section. So it is my wish. I can design it zero fresh air, or I can give some kind of 50 CFM in this case. So now I will show you now how the heat load is being calculated. So first of all, these are the walls. So we put all the wall area here. So here, all those walls which are coming into the sun exposure are put it here. So when you put here, this is the length, this is the height, this is the wall area. Then this is the U factor, which depends upon wall construction. So 0.38 is the value for 9-inch brick wall with plaster on both sides. This is the temperature difference. So temperature difference is coming from here only, outside minus inside condition. And here the heat which is coming from like north wall, south wall. So whenever if I put some exterior wall in southeast, it will further add some heat in southeast. Okay. So this is the heat which is coming through my walls. Then this is the heat which will come through my windows. So if I have some windows, I will put this thing. So then it will calculate the heat through windows. Through windows, I told you heat is calculated two ways. So this heat is the heat through conduction, because this is the U value of my glass. This is the total. This is the total area of my glass, and this is the delta T. So this is the heat through conduction, and through radiation, this is the heat which is being developed from my space through radiation. So through glass like this, I calculate the roof. So right now you can see there is no heat through roof in this row, because I have put my roof here as air conditioned. If I make my roof exposed, now it will add some heat through the roof. So like it have some heat through the roof. Similarly, if my floor is also, my like I'm calculating the heat load for first floor, and my room which is there beneath under my current room is unconditioned. There will be some temperature heat coming through the floor, so that will come under floor. If I have some interior walls, I can put the area of my interior walls here. It will add the heat for interior walls. So if I have lighting, if I have some equipment here, these inputs are in watt per square foot. So like 2 watt per square foot, 250 is the space area. This is the factor, and this is the lighting load. Equipment load, I need to fit directly in watt as mentioned here. So if 100 watt is the equipment load inside that room, this is the heat that will come. If two people is there, so 2 into 250, this is the all is the sensible components. So this is the total sensible heat. So also notice this is the pressure which is I am giving at coil. So for this fresh air, it is considering that 10% of the fresh air is directly coming to the room bypassing the cooling coil. That's why I can see some heat there. So this is the total space sensible heat load. Then there is some safety factor space. So latent heat load, only two components. One is the vent fresh air, which is bypassing my cooling coil. So it create directly some latent load into my room and my occupancy. This is the latent heat load for this room. And this is the 50 fresh air. So 10% I calculated as separately. For rest of the 90%, I directly calculated. This is the enthalpy difference. This is the heat. So this is the total heat, which is the sum of sensible load plus sum of latent loads plus sum of ventilation load. And this is the CFM. So how it is calculating the CFM, that I will show you now. Okay. So before calculating the CFM, I need to calculate the ODP, ADP. Okay. So how I can calculate the ADP? Can
Friends,
all
if
of
you
you
have
see it?
ask sir, बीच में कोई दिक्कत हो तो you can ask him.
Can all of you see a PDF file on your screen now?
No, sir.
No. Yes, not visible.
Okay, so this is the graph. Like you calculate ADP directly from psychrometry chart, or we can calculate the ADP here from this chart as well. Okay, so if say I'm taking my design condition, it's in as 75 degree Fahrenheit. Okay, and I'm taking my design condition 75 degree Fahrenheit and 55 RH. This column is showing RH. So this table and this particular row, this area. Okay, this is my 75 dry bulb, 55 RH. This is my inside room condition that I am considering for my heat load calculation. Then I have calculated my ESHF. Like for this particular room, I showed you in Excel, it have a sensible heat ratio of 0.99. So 4.99, 75, 55. So it will be somewhere close to 57. So that's how we calculate the ADP, apparatus dew point, with this chart. Okay, this is clear to all of you. And now I will show you the formula, how we actually. So this is the formula which is being used to calculate the supply airflow. So first, what is supply airflow means? Supply airflow we also call dehumidified CFM. So supply airflow, it is the minimum amount of airflow that is required to achieve the thermal comfort. So supply airflow is equal to total space sensible heat divided by this. So 1.09 into 0.9 into RT minus ADP. 0.9 is the contact factor, because we consider 10% of the air bypasses the cooling coil. So in this formula, ADP used. Without knowing the ADP, we can't calculate the CFM. That's why I first show you. You can calculate ADP on psychrometric chart, or you can see the ADP from your PDFs, like from your chart from Carrier that I also showed you. So from this, you can calculate your supply airflow. So dehumidified CFM is more sensible load. So CFM will be more. So you can also calculate, when you have calculated the heat load, you can also calculate what is the value of CFM per ton for your space load. More CFM per ton means more sensible heat, and less CFM per ton value means kind of your room have a more latent load than sensible load. So our CFM per ton values comes high when we calculate heat load in case of summers. If we are calculating heat load for monsoon conditions, CFM per ton value comes lower comparatively to summers. Okay, it depends upon like SHR, and SHR depends upon sensible to the ratio of sensible from to total. Okay, also high SHR leads to high ADP, and low SHR leads to low ADP. Okay, if ADP is low, more condensation is take place. So you have now the average cooling load range is 100 to 200. So here this range is quite low. Average our cooling load should fall either in this range or in this range. So if this range is higher, it means our cooling demand is lower. If it is coming lower, this square foot per ton is coming low, it means our cooling demand are pretty high. So these are some ranges. So now you can ask any question on any of these slides, how we calculate the ADP on psychrometry chart, or this is the formula for evaluating the supply airflow. So we have to, when we even when we go to market for buying AC, we also need to see that both the things. What is the tonnage mentioned on AC, and what is the supply airflow CFM mentioned on AC. Okay, we need high CFM for instantaneous cooling. Okay, so now you can ask any question to me regarding the things we presented today.
Sir, what is the full form of CFM?
CFM is the cubic foot per minute. Cubic foot per minute. It is the unit of airflow. Airflow. So airflow means how much the air is passing through a certain time. So cubic foot of air per minute. CFM. Cubic foot per minute.
Okay, sir.
Yes. Anything else? On any slide? I'm showing you some slides which are slightly hard to understand. That's why I'm showing you these slides. So if you have any question on any of these slides, you can let me know. And
Yes,
also
you can.
you can note down my email ID here. So you can also email your questions to us. No problem. We would be happy to help you.
So your screen is not being shared. So please share your email ID.
Oh, sorry. Now it is there.
Yes. So students, you can ask him because he has a good experience and you'll be able to learn a lot. And today also we learned a lot. He showed us the Excel calculations because in our course we don't have so much detailed studies of heat load calculations.
So no problem. If you feel any doubt later in future, so just put me email. Okay, students.
Any other doubts?
Okay.
Anybody? Any questions? So
So
then
you
you
can
can
also
ask him.
calculate your heat loads for your classrooms or for your bedrooms, and then you can also try to visualize all these things.
Yes.
You can assume some U values for your constructions if you, or you can, you just reach me out, try to practice. It is very interesting, if you just try to focus on it. I found it personally very interesting when I learned heat load calculation. So I think when we can close it if students have no doubt.
Yes, yes. So I would like to thank you to give us your valuable time and share us your experience. And it was really very knowledgeable. You showed us all the calculations and the Excel sheet. How do you actually calculate a load for a room, any building,
Yes,
any
yes.
enclosures? So thank you very much for your guidance for this
Thank,
area.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So in future also we'll try to have some other webinars. If you have any other topics, you can please share with us so I can share with the students.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, students. I have taken the attendance in between twice, so I will inform them
Thank you,
about the
ma'am.
certifications.
मैम
हाँ
सर्टिफिकेट
हाँ
Thank you,
सर्टिफिकेट आई
ma'am.
इन्फॉर्म जो जिन्होंने दोनों अटेंड किए हैं उनका दोनों का बनेगा जिन्होंने एक अटेंड किया है ट्राई दैट वैसे तो उन्होंने दोनों अटेंड के लिए ही कहा था बट आई सी कि they can give it for the single ones because some were absent in the last class, some were absent today. So then they'll issue e-certificates and then I'll mail them to you. Okay. So thank you all. And if I'll be in touch with them and I'll be in touch with the CWC members ताकि अगर कुछ और webinars if you want to plan we can plan. Okay.
ओके मैम
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
थैंक यू
Thank
मैम
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.